See it.
Hey, everybody. Patrick Henry here with Tony, the Queen of Events, and we are live on the back porch. It's Queen of Tickets, excuse me.
Queen of everything.
Queen of everything. That's right. She's my mother-in-law, and Jeannie Robertson's longtime assistant and friend for over 175 years.
At least.
And so anyway, we're here on the back porch, which is actually my music room, continuing Jeannie's legacy of love and laughter and special guests, and we're glad that you're here with us. So a lot of you have been asking us to continue the show, and so we decided to do that. We can't do it every weekend like Jeannie loved to do, but as many times as we can. Jeannie had a ton of friends and a ton of associates, and so we're going to bring as many people in just to keep her legacy going. Tony, you have some announcements you'd like to make?
Just a couple, and then I want to get to our guest. First of all, I would just welcome to everybody. We're glad you're here, and we hope you enjoy this hour that Patrick's put together. I wanted to thank everybody. So many of you donated to the causes that were dear to Jeannie, the Pegs PJs or other children-related charities, nonprofits, and for Jerry, in Jerry's memory as well as in Jeannie's. I just wanted to let you know that everything you've sent has been so appreciated, and that we have actually had so many. You've been so generous that in addition to Pegs, the Pegs people have also donated part of that money to our local Christmas cheer, with it earmarked for children's Christmas gifts. We thought Santa Mike could use a little help, and there was money that we wanted to share with them, as also our allied churches, which is our local homeless shelter, so that the children who may be living there during Christmas Santa will find them too.
Mm-hmm.
So just want everyone to know that everything's appreciated and being used in great ways that Jeannie would be really happy about.
That's right. Jeannie, it was when Jeannie put her heart and soul into something, she went all in. And around this time of the year, if you went over to her house, her entire game room was covered with gift giving projects that she was a part of. And
she had a lot of different things going on all the time. Yeah.
Right. And so, which if you were close to Jeannie, you were forced to be able to navigate through those projects. But that's why that's why we loved her so much.
Jump in. Yeah. That's really the only thing we do. Most of you probably know we wanted to give back a little something to you. So we've given you a discount on the ordering site. If you still want any of the products, then we're in stock. We're well stocked. We have everything we need now.
How do they get that project?
They
those
go
products.
to store JeannieRobertson.com, and there's a code you put in and you get a discount. If this runs till the 15th, because the deadline for the post office is the 17th, and I need a couple of days to get these orders into the mail.
No, I'm kidding.
No, next week. But we still have time. If you haven't ordered or do want to, we'll get them out.
So there's a discount for the products now.
For right now, it runs till it started last week, and it runs till the 15th.
Okay, so
it's just something we've never done that before, but we thought it was we'd like to give back a little to the fans, and if you want to order, it's there, and we'll get them out. And I'm in behind right now because the response has been pretty big, and but I'll get them all out, and you'll get them before Christmas. And if you don't, we'll blame it on the post office.
That's right. And if you order the audio book, either the download or the CD, I get money off of that.
That's right.
And all of those proceeds go to feed the children.
Yeah, yours.
My children.
Yes.
So,
yes. And your mother-in-law.
Yeah, that's right. Another thing, a lot of you have been asking about the auction. So I talked to Jane Tucker yesterday, and the auction house has all of the clothes and jewelry and everything that's going to be auctioned off. And they're starting to take pictures and build the site out. But if you go to this website, everard.com. That's the auction house, and you can pre-register. And what you do is you just fill in your contact information and a credit card. They don't charge the credit card. That's just so once the auction starts, they already have payment information. But go ahead and go to www.everard.com and pre-register if you're interested in participating in the auction. The auction is going to open up, I believe it's January 26th, and run for 15 days where you can bid. It's a virtual auction, obviously. And then there's going to be a final day where the auction, the items are actually won.
I guess it ends.
Ends. Yeah. Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna move back to this other spot and let you get on with the show.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to, since it's Christmas time, Merry Christmas, happy holidays. In this house, we celebrate Christmas, and so I want to show you our Christmas tree. I say our Christmas tree. This is as close as I'm allowed to get to this Christmas tree. My wife has been decorating this tree for over 30 years. Not the actual tree, but she's been collecting these ornaments. She loves Christopher Radko ornaments. And so every Christmas she decorates the tree. I sit in a chair and I sip on wine, and I'm not allowed to touch the tree. But I hope that I'd love to see pictures of your trees. If you want to post some pictures to Jeannie's site, that'd be a great way to share kind of the Christmas spirit. But let's go ahead and get on to our guest. The guest that I'm about to introduce is I've known, gosh, I don't know how long I've 25 years, maybe. She's been a friend of Jeannie's for longer. And her name is Ladonna Gatlin. Ladonna is, if you don't know who Ladonna Gatlin is, you certainly know the last name because her brothers are the famous Gatlin brothers. She sang with the group for many years, and we're going to hear all about that. But she's also, I think, the best singer of the group. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Ladonna Gatlin.
Hey, hello.
Ladonna.
Hey, Patrick. From the Lone Star State of Texas, where it's 81 degrees today. Hello. Well,
that's a good Christmas. It's pretty warm here.
To see you. Great to see you.
I'm thrilled that you agreed to be on. You know, I know Christmas is big in your family, and you've got a pretty big family.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Christmas is, I've got, decorations here. In fact, this right here, you have to look at this. I was walking to Walmart the other day and I saw this and I thought, what a beautiful garland this is. I mean, that would look great, draped across my keyboard there, or in the spirit of Jeannie Robertson, Jeannie could look at a pair of pants and make it a pashmina, as you all know from her famous pashmina story. So in honor of Jeannie today, here's my Christmas pashmina. What do you think?
I think it's perfect, and Jeannie would be howling right now. I just wonder how many people, after hearing the story of wearing the pants as a pashmina, had story. How many different items people have used as a pashmina and thrown over their shoulder.
Well, I doubt that a Christmas garland has ever been used, but it has today. So, Jeannie, that's for you. God love you. And I love what you said at the beginning. We are here. We stand on the shoulders of all those who have gone before, and especially Jeannie Robertson. She was one. I'm not going to say she was one in a million. Jeannie was one in a zillion. And so I just have the great privilege of knowing her and learning so much from her. And wow, it's just a privilege to be here. We had a blast when I got to do her back porch a year and a half or so ago. And I just think it's wonderful, Patrick, that you are carrying on the tradition in her honor and in her memory. There's nothing sad about that. I mean, Jeannie would want us to go on and just get on with life. So,
well, thank you. The truth of the matter is, work hadn't picked up 100% yet, so I still have some weekends free. So, just let me interrupt for a moment. Donna Murphy, thank you for mentioning that the auction actually starts. Says starts on February 15th, not January. You know what? I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. We're going to get some clarification on there, and we will make sure you have the correct date. I was told January, but if they have February, maybe it's February. What's that?
One quick thing. I left out what the code is. Would you Tell them that's the
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, Ladonna. Let me just jump in here real
No,
quick.
no worries.
So
the code.
right. So Tony had mentioned that there's a code to get you 15% discount. And the code is holiday. You can't read this. I don't know. I'm holding it up. Holiday. So when you go to storejeannierobertson.com, put in holiday as the code and you will receive your discount.
And it tells you that at the top of the store. I mean, you'll see it.
Okay.
But that's it. Holiday.
All right. Let's bring Ladonna back in. Okay. Sorry, Ladonna.
Did I knock her out?
Oh, no, I know it. I tell you, after a couple of years, you'd think I'd learn how to do this technology. There we go. Let's get back into it. There we are.
No
You're back,
worries.
Ladonna.
I just had a cheeseburger, so no problem.
Well, so listen. Before I want to get into all about growing up, and as I've heard you call it, growing up Gatlin. But first, would you mind singing us a song? Because I've been telling everybody what a great and amazing musician and singer you are, and I want you to prove it right now.
Well, thank you. I thought you'd never ask. So it is the most wonderful time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. With the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all. With those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for roasting, caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
With a couple of piano clams in there in the middle. Sorry. My keyboard guy is really my husband, to whom I've been married for 47 years, and he's sitting in here going, whoops, you missed that one.
Well, I tell you, live streaming's interesting because it doesn't always translate the sound the way we want it to, but I thought it sounds amazing. And
Thank you.
And you're a real musician, so your ear is different than most. I can remember one of my good friends, and I'm kind of going off track here, in Nashville was a guy named Victor Krause. He married one of my roommates, and he's a musician. He plays bass for Lyle Lovett, and his sister's Allison Krause. And I was at their wedding, and during the rehearsal, we were late starting the rehearsal because he was actually tuning the piano in the church. He was not going to have that piano slightly, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Me, I'm lucky if my guitar has strings.
Well, you always sound great, Patrick. You get the message across when you sing, my friend. It's always wonderful to hear you. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of that today. I wish we could do a duet with this. We'll have to work on that live stream and see if we can't figure that out.
Yeah, I don't want to
probably make that a little funky.
I don't want to workshop that one live.
No.
So I know you tell us a little bit about growing up Gatlin. I mean, I know you and your brothers, you started singing in church, but I've heard this from your mouth, but I've also seen documentaries where it talks about what a huge presence your mother was in your life and in the musical life of your family.
And that even goes back a generation further because my mother's father was a huge music person in her life. And back in the day when she was a little girl, and my mother was one of 12 children. And 4 of them died in infancy. So she was one of 8. And I mean, they went to church every time the door was open. And my grandfather, her dad, loved old hymns and Southern gospel music. And they called it convention singing kind of music. And they would go to Sunday school and church on Sunday morning, the whole family. And then after that, my grandfather would take my mother to what they called all day singing and dinner on the ground. And this could be as much as an hour away. And I mean, this is back in the 50s and 40s and 50s. And they would have an all day singing. They would sing out of new hymnals and sing new songs. And then when they got tired of singing, they'd, get out their chicken that they brought in their little, picnic basket, and they'd have some chicken and they'd have dinner on the ground, and then they'd go back to singing. And that just, really entrenched music into my mom's heart, and she loved that and loved church music. So then she passed that on to us, and that's all we knew. I mean, literally, Patrick, our mother was the church piano player, and she had to be there every time the door was open. So consequently, so did we. Our dad was a blue collar worker in the oil fields of West Texas. His work was, sometimes nights, long hours. It was very, irregular hours. There were no such thing as babysitters back in the day. Mom just took us to church all the time. We took a pillow, we took a blanket. I mean, we literally cut our teeth on the church pew. And that's so indicative of so many music artists today, as you mentioned, from those documentaries that you've seen in Nashville. And by the way, before we go any further today, we want the folks in Kentucky and Tennessee and that area of our country today to know that you are in our prayers. The devastation of these tornadoes.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
been watching the news this morning, and oh my goodness, our hearts go out to you and our prayers are certainly with you. So I just wanted to say that before we went any further. But
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that, Ladonna, because we all woke up to that news, and
yes.
you just can't imagine, something like that. I mean, I think out in Texas, you guys have more of them than we have in North Carolina, but still, it's
Right.
terrifying.
It is. And at this time of the year, it's just extra tough. So we'll just keep, and to your viewers, I know they'll keep them in their prayers and their thoughts as well. And if they can do something to help, I'm sure there'll be, numbers we can call and places we can contribute to help.
Sure. Well, speaking of church, you said you brought a pillow and a blanket to church. Now, that was an idea I didn't think of because I fell asleep quite a bit in the pews, but my mother always woke me up with a pinch. And it seemed like my head always hit the pew loud enough to sound like a shotgun went off.
Yes.
But
and you were caught.
Of course. Tell us about the first song you sang in church. And by the way, before you do that, if you all have any requests, go ahead and throw them out there because I bet Ladonna knows them, especially if they're gospel hymns.
Yeah, old gospel stuff. We Gatlins pride ourselves on the fact that we know every single gospel song. We don't by any stretch of the imagination, but we know a lot of them. So you'll be interested to know that sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening, sugar at supper time. That was actually the first solo I sang in church.
That's not what I was expecting.
That's not what you were expecting. No, but it was more, actually, that is the first one. That's actually true. But this one is one of the first ones that I learned. Jesus loves me, this I know. For the Bible tells me so. Little ones to Him belong. They are weak, but He is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That was. Let me get you at a solo layout. By the way, you can probably hear my dog barking. Um, I've got two dogs. We've got a big dog named Tucker, big English cream golden retriever. Sounds like a drink from Starbucks. And then we've got Daphne. Daphne is a little dachshund. If Daphne could talk, she said, "Let me in. I have to pee."
Daphne is 14 and a half years old, so she can do what she wants.
That's right.
Right now, she's barking because someone dared to walk down the street in front of the house.
How dare they? So you have a really huge dog and then a little bitty dachshund. Is that what you said?
That's right, like Mutt and Jeff.
That is a Christmas card waiting to happen right there.
And guess who's in charge?
Oh,
the little one.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Well, and the thing is, we would always buy. Every time my mother comes up, she feels the need to buy him dog beds, and I say, "Don't do that," because Tucker finds dog beds delicious, and so. So we get a little dog bed and a big dog bed, and Daphne always ends up in the big dog bed. Or if we get a big bone and a little bone, Daphne's always wrestling the big bone. But regardless, so I don't know if this is a song or not, or if a plan of action. Is there a gospel song called "We're Going to See the King"?
Oh, yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
I think it's let's see what key it is. Soon and very soon, we are going to see the King. Soon and very soon, we are going to see the King. Soon and very soon, we are going to see the King. Hallelujah, hallelujah, we're going to see the King. Something like that.
Oh, wow, that's great. Hey, Heidi, thank you for requesting that. I didn't know if you had plans for this afternoon or if that was a song. I've heard that song before, though, so thank you.
That's a great plan for the afternoon, go to see the King. Hey.
Yes, but not this afternoon,
Just get out of this old world.
Yeah. Well, that was great.
I hope that's the one they wanted.
Yeah, well, that was wonderful. Please play and sing "Walking in." Winter Wonderland. "Walking in a Winter Wonderland"?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Sleigh bells ring, are listening in the lane, so is listening. A beautiful sight. We're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is a bluebird, here to stay is a new bird who sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland.
Oh, thank you. That's great. The first song you sang in church, you said, was "Jesus Loves Me," right?
Yes.
So, and I was going to say that before I got distracted by my dog. That was Jerry's favorite song.
Yes.
And you remember, and my daughter Meredith, Tony's granddaughter, Jeannie asked her to sing "Jesus Loves Me" at Jerry's funeral. Well, Meredith never said she was a singer, but she agreed to do it, and so she did. And so she was nervous, so I was going to go up there in front with her, and so I was reaching down to hold her hand, and she started swatting my hand away because I was taking the attention away from her.
It was like, "Dad, I got this.
I got this." Yeah.
And she did. It was precious. What she did was precious. Such a fitting tribute to Jerry. What a wonderful man. And that speaks volumes about the kind of spirit that Jerry Robertson was. He was so precious.
For sure. And the last few years, Jeannie and Jerry became such a big part of we call it the family. And
Yes.
And so for holidays and we would always, obviously they would see Beaver and his family, but for Thanksgiving, if Beaver and the boys couldn't make it here, then they'd come over and have dinner with us and do Christmas Eve with us. And so that was always a big part of our world. And so I see Ann Walker here. You know Ann and Al, her brother.
Yeah. See, I'm viewing you on my phone, so you're able to read the comments that are coming by. I can't read those.
No, that's
You
fine.
know?
So Ann's family as well. We spent a lot of summers in South Carolina and with their families, 4th of July's. But she wants to say, she said, you gotta walk that lonesome valley. Do you know that song?
I kind of do.
Just say yes and play something you want to play.
You gotta walk that lonesome valley. You gotta walk it by yourself. Nobody else can walk it for you. You gotta walk it by yourself. Okay, Ann, what's your second favorite gospel song?
I'll Fly Away.
I totally messed that one up. Give me take two on that
Well,
one.
a lot of people are requesting I'll Fly Away.
Oh, okay. Somewhere only when this life is over,
I'll fly away
to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. Oh, I'll fly away, oh glory. In the morning when I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away. Yay!
Oh, that's great. Hey, so tell us, Ladonna, about okay, so you grew up singing in church, and then as your mom kept having children, the band kept getting bigger. And
Well,
so the gap.
My mother had all four of us children in a span of only 6 years. So
She didn't
when
have-
the good
she didn't-
Lord said to multiply and replenish the earth, she took it seriously.
She didn't have a TV.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
She didn't have a TV.
No, well, I tell folks that's the ultimate practice of unsafe sex, if I've ever heard it in my life. But yeah, all four of us in 6 years. So I am 67 years old. Rudy is 69. Steve is 70. And Larry is 72. So yeah, there's only 6 years difference between me, which I'm the baby, and then there's Rudy, Steve, and then Larry. So we were all very close chronologically, of course, in age. And then because of the music, we were all just even that much closer because we shared the love of music. And we started out, it started out as the Gatlin Trio, the three little boys, and they literally won their first contest in Abilene, Texas, a talent show. And I'm not lying. I have the picture to prove it. I don't have it with me today, but if you want it, I'll make that available to somebody if they want me to prove it. They were 2, 4, and 6 years old, and they won first place in this little talent show. And I was a newborn baby. I was back, with my aunt, and my mother played the piano for them, and they won this little talent show. They were called the Gatlin Trio. They got a little gig on the Slim Willett Show in Abilene, Texas. And they sang every week for a nickel each per week. Now their fee has gone up some since then, but it was a nickel each per week. And Rudy had to stand on Dr. Pepper crates, those big wooden crates. They'd have to stack those up, and he'd stand on those so that he could reach the microphone. And then this was back in the day when, television studios, they had all the big lights and stuff, and bugs would fly around and everything. And if Rudy saw a bug over here that he wanted to go visit, he'd just crawl down off the Dr. Pepper crates and go smash a bug, So they sang. And then when I came along and was old enough to sing, and hey, lo and behold, she can sing, she can carry a tune. The Gatlin Trio became the Gatlin Quartet. And all we ever knew was singing. In the summers, the day that school was out, we hit the road. We had a Rambler station wagon. We pulled a trailer behind it that had our sound audio equipment and our records in it. Mother drove. And I mean, I have to give my mother credit. Patrick, this was long before interstate highways. This is long before Google Maps, for crying out loud. Larry wasn't even old enough to drive yet. He didn't have his driver's license. And our little mother drove us all over the country. One summer, we started in Texas, went west to New Mexico, Arizona, California, came back home to Texas to load up some more record product. Jeannie would be so proud that we reloaded. We reloaded the product in the trailer and went to the East Coast, traveled in 20 plus states that year, and sang at the World's Fair that year because my little 5'2" mother found the guy that was in charge of the music and got right up in his face and said, "Look, bud, I got 4 youngins that can sing anybody off that stage up there. You better let them do it." He did, and we brought the house down.
So okay, let me understand this. You drove to the state fair without a gig.
No, to the New York, no, to the World's Fair in New York City.
Yeah, not state fair. The world,
The World's Fair in 1964. Yes.
Okay,
But we sang in churches all along the way. Mother had booked us. One pastor would have us, and he'd call his friend in the next town and say, "Oh, you need to have these little Gatlin youngins, you know." And
well, you had to eat.
And that's just the way it was. Very organic. I mean, it was just word of mouth kind of thing. Yeah.
Well,
grassroots.
And so you get to the World's Fair in, was it in Brooklyn?
New York City. Well, I was only 6, so I don't really know.
Okay.
No, I was 10. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
New York, anyway.
So you get there, and that's a little fish out of water anyway. 5 Gatlins in New York.
Well, and our dad was with us, and I mean, we enjoyed the fair. I mean, went to all the rides and what am I trying to say?
The exhibits.
Thank you. The exhibits, and we were just normal tourists. And then we came over to this pavilion that was all about a pavilion of the various denominations and whatever faith, you know, all the faiths were represented there. And Mother just went up to this guy that, you know, was at the booth for our faith, the denomination that we were, which was Assembly of God at the time. And she just said, you know, I got these 4 kids and they can sing, and you'd sure, you know, your people is like them. So he didn't have us just sing there in his little booth. We went outside.
Oh, wow.
Everybody could see. And I mean, we just sang, Patrick.
Right.
And you have a term for it. You know, I said we just tended to break out into song at any given moment, but you call it
musical Tourette's.
Musical Tourette's.
I mean, y'all having a conversation with Ladonna is it's not always easy, because in the middle of the conversation she'll burst into a chorus of something, and you just got to let her finish. You can't, you know, you don't want to embarrass her, and don't make too much eye contact because she won't stop. But just keep.
You have just described my husband Tim.
Yeah.
47 years. He's just like, no, please don't, no eye contact, or she won't shut up. And he's just sitting up with me. In fact, the other day, and it's Christmas, and I love no music better than I love Christmas music. And so I've just been singing in the house and going crazy. And he just looked at me and said, "Ladonna, you're just a singing girl, aren't you?" Kind of like that, like, instead of saying, "I just really wish you'd shut up."
Well, why don't you play us another?
A kinder, gentler way to say that.
Well, why don't you play us another Christmas song? And I want to get back into some more Gatlin stuff.
Okay, let's see.
There's lots of requests.
Well, is there a request for one? How about, are you going to do White Christmas?
I'm not doing it. No.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Oh, that's too high. I can't do that in that key. I tell you what, let's do this one. This is a song that Tim and I actually wrote back in 1997. My brothers had a theater in Myrtle Beach at the time, Gatlin Brothers Theater, and they were doing their Christmas shows, and they invited me to come and sing on the shows. And so Tim, to whom, like I said, I've been married for almost 47 years, an amazing musician, keyboard player, songwriter, singer, all of the above. And we wanted to do something that would write a song that would really honor the way that we were raised. He was raised in a wonderful, godly Christian home, as was I. And we just wanted to write a song that would commemorate that, our upbringing and our parents and the influence, especially that my parents had in my life. So this is the title cut of my CD, of my Christmas CD, and I guess that is a little plug of sorts. And yes, you can get that at LadonnaGatlin.com in the little store there. But more importantly, it's really a song from my heart to thank my parents for the way that I was raised. So it's called Christmas Memories. When I was just a little girl, couldn't wait for Christmas Day. My big brothers would wake me up early. I still can hear them say, girl, it's Christmas, you gotta come and see all the toys and presents that are underneath our tree. There were toy trains, airplanes, baseball bats and gloves. And from the window of the toy store, I got that baby doll I love. Then Mom and Dad would sit us down, read the story once again about this little baby Jesus born in Bethlehem. They said he's more than presents underneath our tree. He's got in a manger, come to set us free. Born of a virgin, heaven's perfect lamb. This little baby Jesus, born in Bethlehem. Silent night, holy night, this little baby Jesus born in Bethlehem.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. That we're all clapping here. I'm sure we're clapping around the world. Oh, that's terrific.
And you know what, Patrick? That song, well, it'll be on my Facebook page on Christmas Day. And we had an audio specialist put that song to old 8mm movie film of Christmases at the Gatlin household. And
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's us. I mean, it's just, we're throwing wrapping paper and, all over the place. And right in the middle of all of it, and you even commented about this because you watched it, right in the middle of 4 little kids having Christmas and opening their Christmas gifts, our mother walks to the piano, starts playing, and we all just fall in line. And we're sitting there. And I wish you had the audio because, I mean, it's 8mm movie film. We didn't have audio back then. I'm maybe 6 years old, but you can tell we're singing jingle bells, jingle all the way. And Rudy is there in his pajamas and his underwear, for crying out loud, singing jingle bells.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So I love watching documentaries about bands, and I was watching a documentary on the Bee Gees and
yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and so I forget who it was, but it was pretty profound that no one harmonizes like siblings, and there's just something in the DNA has harmony's tough for me unless it's an obvious note. I can't find it, but it comes very natural to y'all, doesn't it?
It really does, and it's called blood harmony, and you nailed it. It is in the DNA. I mean, it's literally in the DNA, and you either, for us, the 4 of us, we all had the ear for it. Our daughter, Tim and my daughter, has an ear for it. Our son does to a certain degree, but not like our daughter Annie. I remember when I was driving her around, she was a little 3-year-old in the back seat of the car, and the radio would be playing, and she would be singing the harmony part to it. at 3 years old. And I thought, wow, that's exactly what we did. We just heard those parts. And I think a lot of that I really think all of that goes back to our church upbringing, because we were raised in a denomination where you didn't necessarily read the parts out of the hymnal. It was the Assembly of God denomination. It was a Pentecostal denomination. And people just sort of, they'd look at the hymnal, they'd glance at it every now and then, but everybody pretty much just sing whatever part they wanted to. And that's where we learned how to sing harmony. And it literally did come very naturally to us.
Huh.
So, Patrick, did you not go to church much?
Is that I went to church.
Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I was there on all the major holidays. No, I grew up Southern Baptist. I was there when the doors opened, whether I wanted to be or not.
I know, but in the Baptist denomination, they tend to follow the script a little bit more in those denominations more than our denomination did. It was a little freer, if you will.
Well, we wanted to go to heaven.
Hey,
I'm kidding. I could read. I mean, I don't read music. And I never understood why they would clutter up a hymnal with all those notes. I just need to see the words.
You're my kind of guy.
Yeah.
I don't really read either. I play by ear. Now my husband Tim, he reads it off the page like I would read the newspaper. I mean,
really,
those notes mean something to him. They're just kind of a waste of time to me. But he's classically trained, so he can really do that.
And
he's
that was the
piano player in the family.
That was the great thing about living in Nashville. I was there 10 years, and there are so many great musicians that you could kind of overcome your own deficits by partnering with other people. I saw that Mark Lowry was on, I don't know if he's still on, but being a part of the Gaither experience. I mean, those guys are so good, and I would never put myself in that kind of in company because I'm afraid that they'd cuss at me. But I mean, but just having that natural.
No, Patrick, they might curse at you, but it'd be in 4-part harmony.
That's right. As long as they bless my heart.
Talent, that level of talent, they are just stratospheric. And I'm telling you, Bill and Gloria Gaither have done more than I think probably anybody else musically alive today to promote gospel music and Christian music. And what great writers they are. And they've been such proponents of finding great talent and giving it a platform. I mean, Mark Lowry, Michael English. I could go on and on. It's just incredibly talented people that have shared the stage with them and nurtured it. Nurtured it.
Sure, it's funny because a joke in Nashville is you're so Nashville you're so Nashville if you've ever sang at church and complained about your monitor mix.
Yeah. I love that.
So okay.
The monitor, yes.
So let's go back to the World's Fair. You sing at the World's Fair. Was that any kind of a launching point for the Gatlin family as far as?
You know what? What's really funny is that was almost kind of the end of the Gatlin Quartet as we knew it in terms of really touring in the summertime, because I was 10 that summer. So Larry was 16. So then in a couple of years, he graduated from high school, and then he went off to college to the University of Houston. And he continued in his musical pursuits at the University of Houston and learned to play the guitar and that kind of thing. And we would still kind of get together, but because we were all getting older and getting in high school and then on to college and that kind of thing, as a group, we didn't sing together that much until Larry went to Nashville. And then when Larry went to Nashville, and that's a whole other story that I really don't have time to get into, except that I'll just say this. Dottie West sent him, heard him sing, heard him write, loved what he did, and said, I want you to write for my publishing company. And she literally sent him a plane ticket and said, get to Nashville. And he started, he hung out with Mickey Newberry and Roger Miller and Dottie West and Johnny Cash and that whole genre of songwriters. And they really taught him how to write songs. And so Larry in Nashville was writing songs, and he was a janitor on the side to pay the bills, and his wife Janice was teaching school, and he was kind of hawking his songs, trying to sell his songs up and down Music Row, and he would call the three of us siblings to come to Nashville. He got a record deal with Monument Records. We started going to sing with him, doing the harmony background vocal parts, and we recorded Broken Lady. And that was in 73, 72. She's a broken lady. And it was kind of a new thing for country music at the time because there were big vocals, stacked vocals. You understand that being in the studio, you sing your vocal, then you convert it and you stack it and you layer it on top, And so that sound was kind of new for country music at the time. And that became a hit record. And we started then touring with Larry some as we could, trying to finish school, trying to finish college, all this kind of stuff. And made a couple of records. And then I got married, and I married Tim Johnson. And my brothers were like, this is perfect. He's a keyboard player. At least he will be useful to the family.
And he can haul an amp.
And we started touring and doing all that whole thing in the middle 70s. And right in the middle of doing all that, Tim and I just really had a life moment, one of those moments that you come to where you come to a crossroads in life and you're like, okay, I'm either going to do this for the rest of my life or this isn't what I'm supposed to do. And quite honestly, we felt like the Lord was telling us to do something different, and that our ministry was going to be more of a ministry of the two of us, and that we would be in Christian ministry together. We didn't know what that looked like by any stretch of the imagination, and it was a real step of faith for us to step out at that time. But we did know enough to know if we don't get out of this now, while it's still so young and new and fresh, with Larry Gatlin Family and Friends is what it was called, then we would be in too deep that we didn't feel like we could get out. And my family, there were some uneasy feelings about that at the very beginning, but that has long since been reconciled. And I wrote a song about it. We wrote a song about it called The Song in You. And that's been the message that I have tried to bring to people for the last 30 plus years, is everybody has their own song to sing.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second, because that brings up a good point, because you're not just a singer and a musician, but you've taken your talent to a different stage as a professional speaker, which is how you and Jeannie really connected.
Exactly.
And the message of singing your own song. I mean, I think we've all had times, I know I have, where you're doing something that didn't feel exactly right. You kind of force yourself into a different shoes, and it never feels comfortable until you step into the role you're supposed to be playing and you realized, what your song is. Yes. Tell us a little bit about your speaking and kind of the audiences.
Well, I was kind of clueless. I was singing in church. Him and I were married. We had kids. He was on staff at a church, and I was going out and singing some a little bit on weekends and doing some solo things. And he and I actually, Tim and I made a couple of records together as a duet. And I mean, there are all kinds of different, versions of Tim and Ladonna Gatlin. There's all different versions of that. But once I started having kids, then Tim was on staff at a church, and I would go out and do some things, concerts in churches. And a speaker friend who wasn't a friend of mine at the time, but a speaker who was a member of the National Speakers Association, saw me do a church concert at his home church. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, how would you like to take this concert ministry outside the church walls? His name was Andy Hickman. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I knew there was the entertainment business, which my brothers were in, and I knew all about that. But I had no idea what the speaking business was in terms of speaking at conventions and that kind of thing. I was clueless. And he literally hand-led me through the process of, well, this is what you do. And he introduced me to speakers bureaus. And he said, you got to go to NSA. And I'll never forget the National Speakers Association. And I'll never forget my first NSA was in 1995 in Orlando, Florida. And I mean, I sat on the very back row. And it's, huge. There's 2,500 people in that ballroom in theater seating and the huge production. And I mean, I'd seen big production before, but I was just in awe of this because when I'd seen production like that, it was always at a concert. But when I saw people actually stand up there and just speak, and of course I'd heard great preachers before as well, but I'd never heard speakers really like that in a secular setting. And I was just hooked and flabbergasted. And Jeannie was one of them. And I sat there and I thought, boy, do I have a lot to learn. Because, I grew up singing. My family taught me how to sing. But the National Speakers Association, and speakers like you and Jeannie Robertson and so many others that I could name really taught me the craft of what it means to craft a speech, to craft something that's going to, of course, Jeannie's whole thing was the humor piece of it. Humor, music is to me what humor is to Jeannie. I guess she has Tourette's humor.
Right.
But that's where I first got the bug. And then I just began to go to the meetings, and people were gracious to kind of just include me and show me the ropes. And it's pretty obvious I don't have any trouble talking. So
that's true. No. So I want to play a song, and some people have complained about the sound. I'm trying to figure this out. Something's going on. So forgive me if it doesn't sound as good as it will next time once I figure it out. But, I've heard the story about Larry moving to Nashville, and Dottie West put him in a room with some of these big country music names, Johnny Cash. And see, I met Larry years later at an event where he was the guest of honor, and we ended up in a living room sitting around playing or listening to him play music. And he said, I was in a room very much like this one time, and Johnny Cash handed me the guitar and said, "Let the kid do one." He goes, "And I want to hand you a guitar and say," I was 22 at the time. He goes, "Let Patrick do a song." And so I did a song that I just written, and I'm getting ready to play it for you. And the last line of the song was "The rest is history." And of course, I gave him a tape of the song. A few weeks later, I get a call. He goes, "Patrick, this is Larry Gatlin." And I said, "Shut up. Who is this?" He's, No, this is Larry Gatlin. He goes, "I listened to your song. I love it, but you need to change the last line to 'The rest is up to me.'" I said, "Done." And so I went around Nashville telling everybody I wrote a song with Larry Gatlin.
perfect.
As long as there's no royalties involved. So I'm gonna play this song for you, and hopefully the sound will be okay. His weathered hands reveal the years of working. Blood, sweat, and tears soaked up by the land. Life to him was without complication. He'd say honest work's what makes a man a man. Years ago, his daddy pushed the plow before him. With a vision, 40 acres and a prayer, he carved a life from raw determination. It was a way of life we all would come to share. Now I'm standing on sacred ground where my daddy stood before. Joined to a long, long line, who I am because of who they were. I'll uphold my traditions and protect my family name, bound by pride to their legacy. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Now the rest is up to me. Measure of a man can't be weighed in diamonds. His value can't be balanced out in gold. Only through the loving eyes of his child can the true worth of his legacy be told. My daddy plowed the earth to give us something better, just the same as his dad before him did. And if I could have one prayer in this world answered, my son will say his daddy did the same for him. Now I'm standing on sacred ground where my daddy stood before. Joined to a long, long line, who I am because of who they were. I'll uphold my traditions and protect my family name, bound by pride to their legacy. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Now the rest is up to me. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Now the rest is up to me.
Yay!
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wow.
That
is a great song. Oh,
well, I call it another song Garth Brooks did not record.
Well, he should have.
I've got a whole catalog full of those songs.
Man, what a great song. What a tribute to your parents. Man,
Well,
that's wonderful.
Thank
They
you. Hold
raised
on.
you right, buddy.
People want you to do that.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. Couple more things. We have just a few more minutes. I want you to sing. What's the song Jeannie always wanted you to sing?
The only other time I ever did back porch with Jeannie, and it was so much fun. It was a year and a half or so ago, and of course, we were still in the middle of a pandemic and all the riots, and just it seems like America had just gone absolutely crazy, and we lost our collective minds. And she asked for "Let There Be Peace on Earth," and of course, it's also a great Christmas song. But it's just a great song for any time of the year. So,
Ladonna, I want you to sing that song, and then as soon as you're finished, I'm going to come back and we're going to close the show out with everybody singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas."
And
wonderful.
as Jeannie liked to say, we'll push that little button that lets us see you all. So everybody better be singing.
Yeah, that's right.
Jeannie convinced us that she could see everyone.
I never 100% got behind that bit, but
and I bet she can. And I bet she can now.
All right. So go ahead and sing your song, and then we'll close it out.
Fine. You're absolutely right, Tony. She and Jerry both, and all those who have gone before. So here we go. A song for the ages, not just for the Christmas season. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with guidance of Father, brothers on earth. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment. peace on earth, and let be king with me.
Amen. Man, that was great. Oh,
Wonderful,
Jeannie's smiling
wonderful.
now. She's smiling now. So I want to have you back, Ladonna, as we continue going forward. I'd love for you to pop in and do a song. And everybody, if you want to continue to see the show, move on, throw some ideas. I'm going to bring the smiley face bucket back and answer questions. I see a few of you can't believe we would actually dare continue the show. You've been blocked. So anyhow, so Merry Christmas, everybody, and Happy Holidays. And we're going to sing it out with "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and I want to hear everybody singing. All right,
Thanks,
you
Patrick,
ready?
for having me. Merry Christmas,
Merry
y'all.
Christmas.
God
Why don't you
bless
go ahead and
y'all.
kick us off, Ladonna, and then I'll join you.
Oh, I thought you were playing. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Yes, please.
I didn't. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Oh,
wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy
New Year.
Merry
Merry Christmas,
y'all.
everybody.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you, Ladonna.